Sundays in St. June, Book 2, by Blue Bastard. Chapter 6. Wednesday, p.m. Drinking wine and killing time. I'm buddy, it's my sister and friends again, shouted Applejack, who now far surpassed the unicorn. While Sunny was far from being the most athletic pony, however, Applejack being quite able to effectively leave Sunset at her desk came as a surprise. Those Crusaders better not have done something real stupid this time! Wait, what are we defining as stupid here? Hollered back the flame-haired mare. I'm talking about stuff like making some kind of wheeled motor vehicle that crashes the air free, throwing knives at each other, do stuff like that. Given what happened as a result of both those times, and if something similar happens this time, I'm gonna be really pissed off. Throwing knives at each other. And they might be doing it again? Speaking proved to be quite the struggle for Sunset, as he thought to keep out the farm pony. Well, it was some kind of strange magic or something. They tried replicating what they saw. As for what happened, let's just say it was a bad fur day for everyone involved for months afterward. Now, Applejack was speaking of little no problems at all, and spoke wonders of how much athletic the airplane was. You would say it was a Harrier problem? No, we wouldn't. In the efforts of privacy, Sunset decided not to pry further about what the bad fur thing had been. In the interest of not running out of breath before reaching the farm, Sunset decided to cut the chair and focus on running. The scene that greeted Sunset and Applejack upon their arrival at the farm was both stupefying and unsurprising. Even from the front gate to the farm, the catastrophe that was belching smoke was visible. As the pair of ponies got to get closer, it immediately became clear that the machine had been the Crusaders' creation. Various rods and poles stuck out from what looked to emerge remains of a record player, a hand-cranked pencil sharpener, and various other sophisticated farm equipment, each ligament having a different object at each end. A boot, gardening shears, a hammer, a wig, horseshoe magnet, and a sponge were among the items Sunset could make out. Surrounding the smoking device were 5 fillies, all of whom appeared to have been too close to the thing when it exploded, and in turn themselves exploded into arguing. Where did we go wrong? I don't know, it was working earlier. It was, but we just finished it. This was the testing, wasn't it? Hell said I know, it was her idea. Girls! Barked Applejack. Metaphorically. What tarnation is going on here? What is this thing? And once the Crusaders all looked at the one pony among them who could describe what they had circled around, Applemoon sighed. It was supposed to be a machine that could help gather apples, since Big Mac is unable to right now. Huh. I wasn't aware that apples were naturally magnetized when they were ripe, sarcastically commented Sunset, fixated on the horseshoe magnet. No, the idea was that the moving rods would knock the apples to the ground, corrected Silver Spoon. Then, when all the apples are on the ground, we fillies would just run around and toss them into the box. She then gestured to a half-charred object at the front, or what looked like the front, of the machine. Sunset immediately frowned in annoyance when she recognized the red exclamation point that marked it as the same box she had been using earlier. Okay, that moves all out, said Applejack, scratching her head in confusion over another detail. Well, how exactly did you power this thing? I hope you didn't use... We couldn't! Interrupted Skidoo, knowing what exactly Applejack was talking about. After all, it's the whole reason you keep the garage locked up is to try to keep us Crusaders away from the truck? Hold on. Did you just say truck? Asked Sunset. As in, has 4 wheels, driver's seat, cargo bed, and self-powered engine, truck? Yeah. Guess you see anything? Sunset shook her head, then turned to Applejack. You have a truck. How in the world do you have something that the technology for doesn't exist here? Applejack chuckled. Well, I guess we really are out of the loop. There have been huge leaps of technology here in Equestria over the last few years. Raid floats, to structural straight pet hairdryer. Sunset nodded. Yeah. Wait, what? What is an industrial strafe pet hairdryer, and why do you have one? As Applejack struggled to quite unsuccessfully hold her laughter, Sleebell popped up. Oh, you got that we were trying to be key markers in your packaging, Mr. Spike. Sunset gave the filly deadpan stare. That literally explained nothing. Apple snored. Do you know how hard it is to dry clean a dog? No. Exactly. With some effort, Applejack managed to rein in her uncontrollable guffaws. They were best to start on a stern, serious face. Her real name. How did you girls try to pair something this like? Cole, said Diamond nonchalantly. Cole? Sunset repeated, trying to understand. How exactly does that work? Oh, and to answer your question, Sunset, the reason they were able to get an industrial pet hairdryer is that Equestria very, very, very much works on a system of if it's funny, we put it in. Alright, if it makes the scene or the joke work, we put it in. Kind of like if we want to put Twilight typing into the computer and we can make it funny, we'll put it in. If we want to put a parade float to make the plot work and it looks funny, we'll put it in. That kind of thing. The same way coal is used for steam engines on trains, of course, answered the Apple Bloom. You put the coal in a box, then you set it on fire, then you drive the locomotives. Little girls. And said Applejack, rubbing the back of her head nervously. That's not all there is to a locomotive. I mean, they call them steam engines because that's what they run on. The coal burns to heat the water into the pressurized steam. Then the steam goes to the pistons to drive the wheels. That's why steam comes out of the bottom of the engine, but smoke comes out of the tap. I guess I forgot the water power. Applejack's hoof went from behind her head to face up in it. So y'all pretty much just lit a coal power fire underneath a contraption made of wood. That explains the fire at least, said Sunset. But what about the explosion? Coal doesn't violently explode. Maybe it has something to do with the bags of sand we tried to use to anchor this thing, suggested Silver. Sandbags? Asked Applejack. Well, we don't have sandbags on the farm right now. Man, what were those bags filled with behind the building you called the garage? Applejack's composition grew pale. Those were bags of fertilizer. Specifically, the ones I recently accidentally ran over with the truck a couple weeks ago and leaked a little of the fuel on. Sweet cocked her head. But how does the fuel soak fertilizer? Because you combined fire, what I'm guessing was ammonium nitrate fertilizer with gasoline, said Sunset, horrified the literal bomb that the 5 fillies have unintentionally set off in their faces. Granted, there was no way to know. Sunset herself only knew about what was more conveniently known back home as an NFO. After reading the article in the newspaper. Officials were citing as blaming a fuel fire leak for a freak explosion at a fertilizer plant somewhere in Texas. Yeah, ironically, the fillies managed to accomplish their goal. Every single ripe apple on the farm had been knocked loose and was waiting for collection on the ground. However, they weren't going to get their key marks and improvised farming techniques. Their tempers were beginning to flare up. Why am I not surprised we nearly got ourselves killed by overlooking the obvious? Grumbled Tiara. Hey, it was your idea to use sandbags, Tiara, retorted Skulu. Well, it's not like I'm the one who thought of trying to build a coal-powered steam engine without the steam. Hey, come on, girls, take it easy, urged the Apple Bloom, trying to calm things down. Only for Tiara to cut her off next. You know, the whole stupid thing was your idea in the first place, I might ask. Yellow Earth Pony narrowed her eyes. Well, excuse the money for trying to find a way for us to be handful of the farm here. Yeah, well, a butt would be more helpful. Are you calling me a butt? Well, I am, but... What, don't you know it takes a butt to know about butt? Only butts would say something like that, you butt. Sunset glanced nervously at Applejack. This could get ugly. Sunset says the 2 fillies continued their butt thing back and forth. Oh, yeah, yep, agreed Applejack, moved to intervene. She was too late, however, as Diamond and Tiara exclaimed theirs. Oh yeah? Well, you're the biggest, stinkiest, gaudiest butt there is in all of Equestria. Apple gave Diamond a look that could kill. Well, at least this butt never betrayed her best friend and helped an undead maniac try to stop Polyfield. Silence reigned over the setting. So much that somehow even the broken machine spontaneously stopped burning, as if it shocked at Applejack's words. Then, as if a reversal of their old dynamic, it was Diamond who broke into tears to scampered off. Oh, soon the slate that, said Applejack, dropping her head in shame. No, you shouldn't have, announced the disappointed Applejack. All you still here, why? Such outstretched foreleg prevented Applejack from chasing after the filly. Sunset, what are you doing? Let me go after her, Applejack. Why? Sunset merely gave a small smile, though tinged with a hint of sadness. Because she won't think I'm biased towards her sister. Applejack raised a hoof to object, but thought better of it. Well, can't see any harm in it. Besides, some pony's gotta deal with this mess now anyway. I won't be long. With that, Sunset dashed off in pursuit of the crammed filly. Based on Applejack's finishing blow in their argument, Sunset said she and the filly would have a lot more in common than it was seen. The only other problem was trying to track the filly down on what was proving to be a very large span of farmland. The old masons would cry out if they saw what had become of their once grand masterwork, lamented Celestia. She and Twilight continuing their journey into the depths of the castle. While the majority of the castle was intact, this was more of a testament to the structural engineering work devoted to ensuring the castle would forever stand. The same could not be said for the furnishings and decorative work that had been unfortunate enough to be in the western rear of the castle, which had been the greater part of the first battle of Celestia and Nightmare Moon. I don't ever recall having visited this part of the castle before, commented Twilight, knowing how she didn't recognize her surroundings, despite having visited Castle Everfree's ruins many times since first coming to Ponyville. Plus, I don't see what this place was originally. This castle layout's nothing like Castle Carolot's. Back when these ruins were the capital of all ponykind, these areas were the living quarters, Celestia answered. The way she looked around as she spoke indicated she could see the walls in their prime. Specifically, I believe we were walking through what used to be the old guard barracks. The barracks? But what are they doing this far back in the castle? I thought the guard wasn't formally created until the EUP guard was formed after. Well, this wasn't so much a barracks as it was an armory, since back then the guard dosed any common pony on hoof when needed. But this place did house ponies who were needed to tend to the armor and weapons. They were housed away from the main social areas such as the throne room, the library, places where the gentry wouldn't have been exposed to the less savory aspects of how guards used to live, such as what passed for eternal plumbing. Celestia motioned with her head towards a doorway, through which was a large room partially occupied by what had been a second floor. From what Twilight could see, however, the room was lined with one continuous bench, with holes in the seats spaced evenly apart. That's disgusting! Did every pony have to do their business like that? Celestia chuckled. Not if you were in the gentry. The more formal alternatives weren't actually all that bad, and frankly I'd rather not go into that. Let's just say one of the things Luna was angry about when she turned into Nightmare Moon was how terrible the restrooms were back then. I can't exactly fault her. It wasn't! Silly came the voice of the younger, ethereal maid Alicorn, who appeared to have been awaiting her royal counterparts on the opposite side of a doorway. But I will admit one of the best things about coming back to Equestria was learning I would have my own private water closet, or bathroom as they have since been called. The poor maid staff was so confused when I kept guessing about how novel it was to have running water that I could change the temperature of without needing the need for magic. Funny, that's how like the Crystal Ponies responded when Carolot sent plumbers to aid in building Crystal Arena, said Twilight. I'm not surprised, not being able to take a bath whenever you want without having to wait for the water to be brought in by servants, or yourself is something no pony misses. Luna cleared her throat, deciding to change the subject. Anyway, while you are down there, I did some looking around myself in the gardens where the nobility used to live. And? Luna took a deep breath before replying. There's something still there, something powerful and dark. It's one of the houses in the far back, 2 stories up, but the front's caved in. However, the back might still be standing. I couldn't see right away, but there are signs of some point having teleported around there, probably to that overlooking edge of the castle. Luna gestured to part of the ruined castle, But the exterior path, once patrolled by guards ponies, remained aloft, though with part of the park cold's edging having crumbled away. Twilight immediately teleported over, feeling an air pony's magic becoming clear the moment she reformed her location. Thankfully, it was still recognizable enough to be identified as Sunset's shimmer. Yeah, this is Sunset's magic I'm feeling, Twilight called back. And if I remember correctly, she said she teleported out of the room where this mirror is, so... Lining up her horn with a tracing spell, Twilight's eyes followed the illuminated path. Only she could see all the way to the back of the old residence Luna had mentioned, and something glimmered in the sunlight. Twilight, what do you see? Said Celestia, having teleported herself next to Twilight, Luna following suit. The youngest princess squinted her eyes. It's definitely a mirror. There's something about it I can't make out. Give me a sec. Twilight quickly summoned a pair of binoculars. She used to enhance her vision. She immediately regretted. Princess, you're gonna want to see this, though you won't like it. Wordlessly, Celestia levitated the binoculars from her protege and held them up to her own eyes. She did not like what she saw. But of course, no pony could fault her for that. After all, seeing a mirror with a gem caricature of herself and Jane's, along with her own mother, in two Lunas, slaved by the laughing form of Sombra, was not a pleasant sight to behold. About 5 minutes of searching led Sunset to the base of a tree in the secluded part of the farm. What made this tree so special was there a treehouse in it. Rather, a very elaborate treehouse. While Sunset had been seeing quite a few treehouses back in Equestria County, especially after living her situation changed to be an actual residential zone, most of those were little more than one-room box-like shacks with a ladder for access. In comparison, this treehouse was fully decked out with a ramp leading up to the balcony, which wrapped around the house itself. It even had appeared to be a second floor, as she could make out a telescope poking out from the upper window. Though judging from the size of the upper level, it couldn't fit any pony larger than a filly. But she could also make out the sound of crying from within. Cautiously, Sunset made her way up the ramp to investigate, cursing under her breath when the wood creaked loudly. Go away! Shouted the filly. The pony's home! Sunset elected not to point out the contradiction of the filly's words, instead choosing to speak gently. This is a pretty nice treehouse. Can I come in to have a look? The sniffing stopped, the pink filly inside recognizing the voice of the unicorn who had been with Applejack. Who do you even think you are? You're certainly not some pony from around here, are you? Sunset took the lack of a no as the signal watched to walk into the treehouse proper. The filly was slouched in the far corner, the tiara being discarded on the ground next to her. She saw Sunset next to her. The filly sat straight to her and hastily wiped at the tears in her eyes. No, I'm not. I'm just here visiting a friend. My name's Sunset Simmer, by the way. Diamond tiara, answered the filly with a sniffle. Sunset immediately recognized the filly's main colors, lavender and white, as being the same one of the 8th graders who sometimes visited Sugar Cube Corner Cafe. Usually with a silver or gray-haired girl that had a braid exactly like the other filly Sunset hadn't recognized earlier. But why should it matter to you? Why do you care? Unicorn smiled a little. Because you remind me of myself a little. What's that supposed to mean? Sunset moved to sit in front of Diamond. For her part, the filly had stopped crying and was now looking at Sunset with curiosity. Let me guess. This is the first fight you had with Apple Plume? That's an understatement. Sunset made sure to speak gently as she continued. You used to bully her and her friends, didn't you? How did you know? Diamond's curious gaze sent into one suspicion. Are you reading my mind right now? Sunset couldn't help but laugh. Of course not. That kind of magic's forbidden anyway. You want to know my secret? Diamond nodded with childlike wonder. I know what you're going through. Diamond simply looked down and scowled at something on the floor. Yeah, right. That's what they all say. My dad, my therapist, all of them. Diamond's hook hard-hearted. It seemed so anything at the end of her gaze would combust. Tracing Diamond's eyes, Sunset realized the object of heated fixation was the tiara idly laying on the floor. They all say that because they think it'll make me feel better. But you know what's really like? To spend your whole life thinking you're the most special, important pony in Equestria. To believe it so strongly you're willing to trample any pony that gets in your way, even the ones you really care about. Tears started to appear in Diamond's eyes again, but the filly rubbed out viciously, as if they were the ones causing her strife. Do you know how hard it is to prove you changed when every pony looks at you and sees the same monster from before? Yes, I do, Sunset answered with such quickness and conviction. Diamond looked up those teary eyes with a renewed curiosity. When Sunset looked at her, she found herself thinking back to some of the first memories she had as a filly. Of a lonely door in the midst of a rainy night. I was like you once. I was an orphan before I was taken in by a very important pony. What, like a noble or something? Sunset thought it best not to mention her status as the former favorite pupil of the princess. Something like that. She took me in, taught me to be a very powerful mage, and became my mother in all but name. She gave me everything, but somehow it wasn't enough. I wanted more, to the point it led me to hurt my mother in the worst way possible. I ran away, far away to a place where I only got worse. I mercilessly bullied a group of friends, tore them apart. Sunset gave the filly a slight grin. Sound familiar? Diamond Tiara simply listened to what Sunset said with wide eyes, hanging on her every word. What happened? Sunset leaned forward as if to share a great secret and whispered, I got my butt kicked. And Tiara's perplexed held tilt. Sunset laughed to lean back. By the same group I used to bully, no less. Everything just kind of got put into perspective since then. What did you do? Asked an interrupted Diamond Tiara. I became friends with my former victims. Ever since, I've done nothing but try to be better. I won't lie to you. It was pretty hard. Painful, even. Sunset rubbed the part of her stomach where she had been stabbed by Gilda. But now, I have a family that loves me, and the best friends anyone can ask for. Sunset glanced over at the car and Tiara Diamond had been scowling at earlier. Laying up her horn, Sunset levitated Diamond's trademark headgear and placed it gently under Philly's head. If I can do it, so can you. Considering her job done, Sunset turned to leave, but Diamond Tiara went after her. Hey, Sunset, right? Sunset stopped to look back. Philly smiled. Thanks. That really did make me feel better. You know, the sad part is that this was done in canon. People would still complain that Diamond didn't suffer enough. Diamond Tiara suddenly stood up. Hey, you should talk to Raspberry. Sunset froze. Why? To be honest, she's the reason I'm no longer a monster. Figuratively and literally. Diamond must have noticed the skepticism on Sunset's face as he continued. I know her dark magic can seem scary, but she's actually a nice pony. Talk to her. She helped me. Maybe she can help you. Sunset wasn't sure what to think. Was this filly under the Warlock's influence too? Or was it possible that Raspberry wasn't a bad pony after all? As Sunset made to respond, the pair heard a voice call out from underside. Nabum? Are you up, player? Apple Bloom called out. With a single motion of her head, Sunset told Diamond Tiara to follow her outside. The pair emerged from the treehouse to find Apple Bloom standing on the grass below. Oh, well, there you are, Timon, she exclaimed, slightly out of breath from running over the farm. Look, what about calling you? Forget about it, cut out Tiara. We all agreed to build that thing. Plus, it was our tempers doing the talking more than our brains. You know? I don't think I will believe you were capable of palatalizing before, you know? Apple Bloom got closer to stick out a hoof. Friends? Diamond took the other hoof near her own. Friends. Apple Bloom smiled wide as he held her former arch nemesis up. Now, come! We gotta help pick up all the apples now, damn! Okay. Eagerly agreed Diamond, as the two fillies bolted on. Before disappearing to feel the trees, Diamond Tiara gave one silent thanks to Sunset Simmer. Applejack was waiting for sunset when the unicorn finally found her way back to the main group on the farm. I don't know what you told Tiara, but I've not seen that feeling so happy while doing anything here on the farm since that one time when she was doing the bunny hopping during last year's crabapple harvesting season. Applejack said, giving Sunset an appreciative smile. Sunset shrugged. Yeah, well, it was probably good for me too. Since it let me be more open about things I don't really like to keep to myself. Like how you were a total base before twice, like you straight. Sunset couldn't help but give a raised eyebrow in noise in response. Sure, be blunt about it, why don't you? Applejack snickered. Hey, this thing, Zats, you ain't caused no trouble since while you've been in town, so I can't complain about that. Applejack turned her gaze in the direction of the orchard. Plus, a lot of the harvesting work's been cut down since the Crusaders decided to detonate that bad fertilizer accident. The unicorn scratched her nose in irritation. Could do without that smell, though. Apple farmer snorted in agreement. No argument there. Oh, by the way, did I read almost mention something? It really had something to do with Raspberry Barrel? Let's see now, what was it? Sunset shrugged. Well, she only said part of it. Something about Raspberry Barrel preventing her from becoming a monster? Know anything about that? Something from Applejack's to me a growing sour. Sunset knew all was well about it. I have a lot to say about that matter. Most of it angry. I can't rightly say to you what Diamond almost told you. That annoyed the unicorn. What, is it like some event so terrible that... Sunset, Twilight told me about the thing you briefly turned into. So I know you'll understand when I say this matter is something like that. Turning into something where your self-control ain't total, body unrecognizable to yourself. Tell me, that monster you turned into, would you want that to happen to any pony you know? Well, what? No, not at all. Well, let's just say something similar happened around these parts. Raz put a stop to it. I don't know what you got against Raz. Well, yes, I figure you got something to go on with her. My family can never repay her for the good she's done for us. Did you know you do anything to hurt that mare? You'll bring down a world of hurt for yours truly. Sunset stammered. Shocked at Applejack's sudden outburst. Sorry about that. Applejack apologized. It had the courtesy to look sheepish as she rubbed the back of her head. If you couldn't tell, it was real personal. And I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that. Well, now that we're all apologizing and stuff, let's crack up on one of those barrels, shall we? Sunset raised an eyebrow. But we haven't... Applejack just laughed. What do you think I got the Crusaders doing? They'll be busy while we're sampling the good stuff. It'll burn their ears so they'll sleep easier tonight. Now come on, gotta justify opening up one of those reserve barrels with a friend. Sunset will later admit that Sweet Apple's Acres Reserve Sire was the best sire she ever had. Though her mind lingered into the nuggets of info she gleaned about her mysterious dark entity. Why is everybody so nonchalant about there being a dark magic user in the mist? It's almost like Sunset's eyes widened where she had seen that behavior before. Everybody's indifference to Raspberry's dark nature was exactly how her parents acted in front of the face of Twilight's nightmares. They're all under her curse, same as them. Sunset did not sleep soundly that night.